أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه يا كريم، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. In our last lesson, we were speaking about the deeds that one should do when a person is in ihtidar, when we have a believer who's on the brink of death. And we mentioned a few things, a few points. One of the most important points that we mentioned was that talqeen, doing talqeen, the person who's about to pass away, is highly important. And what we mean by talqeen is, number one, telling him to recite, utter the two testimonies, shahadat an la ilaha illallah wa anna muhammadan rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa, and also to tell him to express his belief in the Imams alayhim salatu wassalam and Ahl al-Bayt salamullah alayhim, one by one. So you tell him, as we said, say Fulan, say Ali alayhi salam is my Imam, Ali Amir al-Mu'mineen. Say, for example, Fatima al-Zahra is the Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen, the mistress of the women of the world, alayhi salatu salam. Al-Hasan wal-Husayn imamai, etc. And we mentioned the story about a man called Abu Bakr al-Hadrami and how he was beside an individual who was related to him, and that individual was about to die. Jayyid. So he did talqeen, and he told him that he has to believe, in fact, he has to be certain in the words that he is repeating. He told him to express his belief in Allah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa, and the Imams salamullah alayhim. And as a result, the person ended up being from the dwellers of heaven. So he was saved because of Abu Bakr al-Hadrami's talqeen. That being said, today, inshallah, we're going to continue where we left off. And we will mention at least one more deed, which is important and which should be done when a person is about to pass away. If we have enough time, we'll mention two deeds.
The question on the previous
Mhm.
I was thinking about it, and I remembered in Pakistan the way that people do it when they do something like that.
Yep.
Is they don't say say Ali or Imami. They make them say Assalamu alaikum immediately. So they make him do the salam like the same way we do after salam.
Okay.
With like their alphabet and whatnot.
Yeah.
Does that suffice?
I would tell him to actually say that he is the Imam. Yeah. Why? Because Sayyid al-Sistani, let's go to the Minhaj, he said al-iqrar bil-a'imma. Let me just pull out the fatwa quickly. In the chapter of ihtidar, he said, وتلقينه الشهادتين والإقرار بالنبي صلى الله عليه وآله والأئمة عليهم السلام. So it's mustahab to tell him to reveal his faith in the Prophet and the Imams alayhim salam. So obviously when he's saying salam to them, he's somewhat revealing his belief in them. But as I said, out of precaution, it would be better to tell him, no, say, Fulan is my Imam, right? Yeah, because that's more explicit. Yeah. In fact, Sayyid al-Sistani here mentions وسائر الاعتقادات الحقة. Says that the scholars say it's mustahab to tell the person who's passing away to express his belief in all of the correct beliefs. So this includes other matters like what? Yawm al-Qiyamah. He says, for example, Fulan say, say, أشهد أن الساعة حق. Right? أحسنتم, exactly. Right? Or أشهد أن الصراط حق, المرصاد حق, etc. Yeah. Al-Quran, Kitabullah. So he mentions beliefs other than his belief in the Prophet and the Imams, alayhim salawatullah wasalam. Now, the deed that we want to focus on today, inshallah azza wa jal, with the limited time we have, is kalimat al-faraj. Kalimat al-faraj. It is recommended that when someone is about to pass away, you tell him to utter the words of salvation. What are the words of salvation? They are a dua. Dua or a dhikr. جيد. Taught to us by Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam. And apparently this dhikr or this dua is quite powerful. Quite powerful. There's actually a story, a modern story that I've heard from one of my teachers pertaining to dua al-faraj. جيد. And the story is someone, one of the individuals that I and many people in the mu'assasa used to know, rahmatullah ta'ala alayh. He was very sick and he was on the brink of death. Near his final moments, he became agitated. Now, I was not there, but my teacher told me what happened. He was present. So the man became agitated for some reason. And apparently he maybe got angry or something. Apparently there was something bothering him. So unfortunately, there was a nurse who was present, and the nurse wanted to give him a needle, which would basically end his life. جيد. The Shaykh, hafidhahullah, he said, no, we can't do that. We basically cannot kill the mu'min, right? You cannot participate in killing the mu'min. So if this needle puts an end to his life, we cannot give it to him. You let Allah do his job. You let Malak al-Maut alayhi salam do his job. But we as humans have to do what? Have to do whatever it takes to preserve the life of the human being, right? Allah says, وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. If a person revives a soul, he will be like someone who revived all of humanity. So the Shaykh said, no, we can't do that. Instead, he did talqeen of kalimat al-faraj, which we shall read, inshallah. He told him to utter the words that we shall read. And subhanallah, at that point, the man calmed down. He calmed down. And after some time, he passed away. Rahmatullah ta'ala alayh. So here my Shaykh says, my teacher, he says, how in the world would we know that these words actually help the person who is passing away, had it not been for Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam, A'immatul Ghayb, the Imams who were given knowledge of the unseen. As we said earlier, they knew a big chunk of the unseen, right? Of the knowledge of the unseen, salamullah alayhim, with Allah's permission, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they told us they know exactly what benefits the human being at the time of death and what does not benefit him. They told us when someone is about to pass away, when the mu'min is about to pass away, for example, you do talqeen of kalimat al-faraj. Where did they say this? For example, when we come to Al-Kafi al-Sharif, we have the following tradition, which I will narrate for you. Let me just send it to you and we will read it and understand it, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Question? Yep.
So I know you send me things all over now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might be a good idea to have a WhatsApp group so we can perhaps you can send it over there and if people are not carrying their laptops who are carrying their laptops who don't have I don't know the Wi-Fi over here.
Okay.
It's kind of pricey to switch on the webinar for the whole.
صحيح. We can give you the Wi-Fi. Yeah, we can give you the Wi-Fi. No problem. Yeah. No. No, inshallah, we'll give it to you. Inshallah. Inshallah, yeah. No problem. Yeah. He says, the narration says that Zurara, may Allah bless his soul, said that Abu Ja'far, meaning Al-Baqir, Imam Al-Baqir, salamullah alayhi, said, إذا أدركت الرجل عند النازع فلقنه كلمات الفرج. It's an explicit tradition. Tells him, if you find someone who is in the state of ihtidar, and the naza' means he's in the state in which his soul is being pulled out of his body. If you find someone in that state, then do talqeen. Tell him to utter the words of salvation. What are the words? It's very simple. And I would highly, emphasize on either taking a picture of these words or writing them down, because you never know when you will need them. Meaning you'll need them for talqeen. He says, لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم. لا إله إلا الله العلي العظيم. There is no God other than Allah. He is Al-Halim. Halim meaning the one who is patient, such that he does not bestow his punishment quickly on the people who deserve punishment. Al-Karim, the generous. There is no God other than Allah, Al-Ali, the one who is exalted. Al-Azim, the great. Subhanallah. طبعا, when we say he's exalted, we mean that he is very high, not in the physical sense, in the sense that he is perfect. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallahi Rabbi as-samawat as-sab'a wa Rabbi al-aradin as-sab'a. Exalted is Allah. Subhanallah, we've said before, is a word which means we are negating all imperfections. We're saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no imperfections. So when we say subhanallah, we're saying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has what? Absolutely no form of incompletion and no form of imperfection, such as stinginess, cruelty, ignorance, weakness, and other kinds of imperfections. Allah is who? Rabb as-samawat. He is the Lord of the skies, the seven skies. Wa Rabb al-aradin as-sab'a. And he is the Lord of the seven earths or the seven lands. The reason I say seven earths or seven lands is the word aradin could mean earths. جيد? And it could also mean lands. Because a piece of land on earth is called what? Ard. And the whole earth is called al-ard. جيد? طبعا, one may say, could it be that there are other planets like planet Earth in this galaxy or in this universe? So we say for sure. Precisely. Who says there isn't? Perhaps there are seven Earths, but we have not discovered them yet. وَمَا فِيهِنَّ وَمَا بَيْنَهُنَّ وَمَا تَحْتَهُنَّ. And he is the Lord of what lies in the skies and the lands or the earths, and what lies in between the skies and the earth or the lands. وَمَا تَحْتَهُنَّ. And he is the Lord of what is below the skies and the earths or the lands. وَرَبِّ الْعَرْشِ الْعَظِيمِ. And he is the Lord of the great throne. وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. And all praise belongs to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. These are kalimat al-faraj. Very simple. لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم. لا إله إلا الله العلي العظيم. سبحان الله رب السماوات السبع ورب الأراضين السبع وما فيهن وما بينهن وما تحتهن ورب العرش العظيم والحمد لله رب العالمين. فقال أبو جعفر عليه السلام لو أدركت عكرمة عند الموت لنفعته. Here, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam told Zurara that if he was beside a man called Ikrimah, if he was beside Ikrimah at the time of death, he would have benefited Ikrimah. All right. فقيل لأبي عبد الله عليه السلام بماذا كان ينفعه? A question was posed to the following Imam, Imam al-Sadiq salamullah alayh. How would he have benefited Ikrimah? The Imam said, I would have benefited him. But how? Right? This question is interesting. Why? Because you realize sometimes the Imam says something and the person who hears the word of the Imam or the person who hears about his word, meaning someone who was not present when the Imam said his word, but the word of the Imam reached him, doesn't understand exactly what the Imam meant. And so, in such cases, the following Imam or Imams who came, maybe decades or centuries after the Imam who said whatever he said, those Imams were asked, those Imams would be asked, what did Imam al-Fulani mean when he said kada wa kada? This is what happened with Imam al-Baqir. He said a word and someone did not understand what he meant. So he asked Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. فقيل لأبي عبد الله بماذا كان ينفعه? He was asked, how would he have benefited Ikrimah? قال يلقنه ما أنتم عليه. He would have told him to express his belief in what you believe in. The Imam is addressing who? The Shias. Meaning the Imam would have told him to express his belief in Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalatu wassalam. To say that he believes in Ahlul Bayt, salamullahi alayhim.
This would be to do after the 17.
I haven't seen a narration saying which one should be first. So we understand that both should be done, but I can't say this one should be before the other one. So if you're there beside someone who's passing away, just do both and you'll be good. Yeah, or he'll be good, right? Person who's
It's funny, this we mentioning these words without for the dua for the specifically
nice. Yeah, لطيف. أحسنت. أحسنت.
what's the why Ikramah took a pain? What was the context with that verse?
With Ikrimah, in one of the footnotes or one of the shuruh, the commentaries on Al-Kafi, it is mentioned that Ikrimah would visit Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, but he was following al-Khawarij. Yeah? He was following al-Khawarij. Where is the story? It is mentioned that Ikrimah was a slave for Ibn Abbas, rahimahullah. Sorry, in the commentary, it's mentioned that he was a slave for Ibn Abbas. In Al-Kafi, there's a hadith mentioning that Ikrimah he would go to Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, right? But he had the beliefs of al-Khawarij.
seems he would have maybe in his last moment
أحسنت.
from the
أحسنت. Yeah. أحسنت. Okay, let's see if we have enough time to mention another point. Yalla, we'll take 5 more. We have 5 more minutes, inshallah. Another hadith on this regard, regarding Kalimat al-Faraj, is the following, also found in Al-Kafi. This one is interesting. Of course, all of the hadith of Ahl Bayt are interesting, salamu alayhim. But what makes this one interesting is Imam Ali alayhi salam mentions the great effect of Dua al-Faraj. What effect does it have when the person who's about to pass away actually says it? When you do talqeen, you're telling him to say it after you. صح? So when he says it, what happens? Here the tradition says, also in Al-Kafi, عن أبي عبد الله عليه السلام كان أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام إذا حضر أحدا من أهل بيته الموت. He says, it was Imam Ali's habit that when one of his relatives would be on the brink of death, he would do the following. قال له, he would tell him, قل, say, لا إله إلا الله العلي العظيم سبحان الله رب السماوات السبع ورب الأراضين السبع وما بينهما ورب العرش العظيم والحمد لله رب العالمين. Here we realize that there's a bit of a difference between this version of Dua al-Faraj and the one that Imam al-Baqir mentioned, Salamullah alayhima. And that's not an issue. جيد. If you want to mention all of the versions that Ahl al-Bayt mentioned in their ahadith, Salamullah alayhim, that's fine, no problem. But the Imam alayhi salam would tell the individual who's passing away to say these words. I did not translate them because from the previous hadith, we should know the translation for these words. Now, the Imam says, فَإِذَا قَالَهَا الْمَرِيض قَالَ اذْهَبْ فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْكَ بَأْسٍ. If the person who's sick would say it, meaning the person who's about to die, he's sick, he's about to die. If he would say it after the Imam would tell him, go forth. لَيْسَ عَلَيْكَ بَأْسٍ, meaning you have nothing to fear. Meaning your fate in the hereafter is a good fate. You're protected from Allah's punishments. Yes.
How much before his death can you say it? Like, let's say he's sick and he might die in 2 to 3 days, you could do something.
Well, it's during, you can tell him to recite Dua al-Faraj at any time. That's fine. But right now we're talking about al-ihtidar. So he has to be in that state where the soul is coming out, basically.
Would you be able to tell the soul what the
Sometimes you can tell, yes. Or many times you can tell. مثلا, as an example, your relative or your friend is sick, okay? And the doctors say, خلاص, there's no more hope for him. It's only a matter of days or hours before he passes away. And then you realize that his state is gradually getting worse, and you're in the hospital, for example, or in your house, and you see that the numbers are dropping. So his oxygen level is dropping, his heartbeats are dropping. So you know that he is in that state. Yeah. Not to forget that sometimes by simply looking at the person and seeing what's happening with him, you can tell, or might be able to tell, that he is in al-ihtidar. وإياكم. Another example would be مثلا, suppose, let's say, you saw one of your friends or family members uh, uh, after a collision. So a car accident happened, and he's right in front of you, and you see that his state is not the best, and it's as if he's giving his last breath. So he's in ihtidar in that case. جيد. Or someone's in a battle, and his friend gets shot. جيد. He's critically wounded, and he's also he's changed. You feel that خلاص, these are the last moments.
So when you're seeing somebody in that state, for example, and it's an accident, it's sudden, like in battle or in a car accident, for example, should you give the person an opportunity to say his will to you, or should you first do the thing?
What comes first? I'm unsure at the moment, so I can ask. Yeah, I can ask, inshallah.
I mean, would it make more sense to do the will first? Because something he doesn't have to be physically able to repeat your words. So if he has that short time where he can speak, he'll say his will, and then if he reaches the point where he can't speak anymore, he could do something on his behalf, kind of.
See, both are important. The will is important. The wasiyah is important, but talqeen is also important for his own fate in the hereafter, right? Yeah. But then again, his will also, parts of his will might be connected to his fate in the hereafter. جيد. يعني مثلا, if he has duyun, if he has debts to pay, but people don't know about these debts, he's going to have to tell the people, I have debts to pay. Fulan, I have to pay him this much, I have to pay Fulana this much, because these are hukuk, these are rights for the people. And if he doesn't give them their rights, he's going to be in trouble in al-akhirah. So both are important, but which one comes first, that I'd have to ask. Yeah, I'd have to ask about that. جيد. والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على مصطفى محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.